Hello everyone, this is Bijan, back with the next video. In this video I'm going to be working on this female sculpture a little bit longer. Right now putting the ears on, simple little wedge of clay. The height of that ear is about from the top of the eyebrow to the bottom of the nose. Using my favorite tool to dig a hole. I have a few of those tools with a ball at the end, different sizes. They're very good to form and shape clay into whatever you want. Plus, you can, mush it in and make them stick to other part of the clay. Trimming it a little bit to make it more proportional. I used to have a hard time sculpting the ears, and then after doing a few, discovered that it's actually very easy to do. Here I'm adding a piece of clay on top to indicate a hair. It looks kind of weird the way it is right now, but as I add more clay to it, which I'm going to use kind of like half melted clay by scraping it on, kind of building up the form. What I do is I put this clay in a toaster oven and set it at the low temperature, and just I usually keep it not at this temperature, not at this state. It's just a little bit warm and pliable. But in this case, I increase the temperature a little bit more. I don't know what it is. It's I would say it's probably about 150, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This stage, with this soft clay, melted clay, I would say maybe 170 degrees. It's an old toaster. I don't know exactly what the temperature is. Doesn't have any indication. It's a blank spot over there. I just know where to line up my knob. So here I scrape a few grooves in there, trying to indicate hair bunches, which if you look at it, you can see the top of the head is really too tall. I was so afraid that it would not be tall enough, and her eyes would be in the wrong place, but it ended up being even too tall now. I have to probably shave it later on. Here I'm putting the head on, and I'm going to use some of that melted clay or very hot clay to fuse the two parts, the neck and the torso. And what that hot clay does is it warms up the adjacent portion and allows that clay to kind of fuse the two together, kind of like welding it. That's what the welders do. They have this rod and they heat up the two pieces next to each other and apply a welding rod there and melt that, and it goes fuses with the two lips that were heated up. Doing the same thing in the back. This clay is so unforgiving for figure sculpting. It's not a bad clay. I mean, I like to work with it, but I made a mistake using it for this sculpture. because if you look at it, you can see that there are places that I can't get to, like between the legs and the knees or whatever. There, I need to add clay over there, and it's so difficult to do that. And when I try to add the clay in there, I have to kind of push them apart a little bit, and it starts cracking. So many times these limbs have cracked on me. But I started on it. I'm at this point, and I don't know if I should give up and try a different clay and redo it, or just keep on going. Adding the clay for the shoulder deltoids, shoulder muscles. In this video, I'm using what I did was, after I edited the video to have whatever portion I have in there, I uploaded to my iPad, and I'm using the iMovie to voice over while it's playing. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but we'll find out. You need to tell me if the result was not satisfactory and I should go back to my PC and do this editing. Here's where I feel like I need to do some sculpting on the inside of the leg, and that other leg is in the way, so I go ahead and cut the left leg off, trying to sculpt the inner part, and foot or whatever. So now this one I cut it off myself, but there are some other places you're gonna see that it just falls apart. It as soon as I move it about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, it cracks from a weak point. So not very good clay for figure sculpting, unless you don't move the limbs. If you just let them be where they are, I guess it won't matter. You just build up and leave it alone. It would be fine. But me, I have to keep changing things. So in this case, you're gonna see a lot of horrible things. You're probably gonna scream, "Don't do that! What are you doing?" So here I'm building the foot. That wire is too long. I'm gonna have to cut it. Now, when I look at the foot, it's got a lot of angles into it that if you don't get it right, it just, if you don't put the muscles where they're supposed to be and the bones where they're sticking out, it's just not going to look right. And I'm having a little bit trouble with this later on. This right now, I'm just making a simple block over there that looks like a foot, and then later I'm going to work on it. But in general, it's not the easiest thing, and I'm having a little hard time with the arm muscles too. So here I'm shaving some of the clay off the calf muscle, actually below the calf where the tendon is. And if you look over here, you see the crack at the knee of the left leg. I'm using the torch to kind of heat up that clay so it can fuse together a little bit. You remember I told you about the clay being so brittle once it cools off, man. slightest movement makes it crack. So for right now, I'm just gonna uh, use it as two separate pieces so I can sculpt places that I need to. I do the same thing to this leg. Need to cut that wire a little bit, make it shorter for the toes. That fifth digit needs a little bump there in the corner. Just looking at overall shape, see if any adjustment needs to be done. Like the head over here is too tall, so I'm shortening it by scraping or shaving some of the clay. Here I'm heating both pieces with the heat gun, trying to fuse them together so I'll have a better feel for the overall shape. You'll see me do that many times during the course of this sculpting because it keeps cracking and I have to take it off, and then once you take it off it's kind of uncomfortable looking at it with some limbs separated like that, so I have to glue them back on and look at it, and that's the part I don't like about this clay. It's so hard to work with on a figure sculpture. Here's I'm doing some adjustment to the side of the leg near the greater trochanter. There should be a little bump right there where my thumb was. Right about there. I used to make the butts kind of round like a ball, and then as I was studying to learn the anatomy, find out that they're not really round like a ball. They have an angle going forward, almost 45 degrees backward. Little by little learning about anatomy. I'm really fascinated by human anatomy. I have many resources and videos and books and references to help me, understand it and learn the anatomy. Once in a while, you hear me throw in a couple of, you know, words in there. Are they Greek? I think it's Greek or Latin names, and things you hear. You want to repeat it, so you learn it because you have to say it to learn it. Okay, here is where I'm trying to repose it. I'm hoping that it won't break even though I heat it up, but I have a feeling it's gonna crack. Yeah, and it's at the front, it's just separating. You can see that this clay is not easy to work with. You cannot move it. Even though it's not really hard like a wax. I haven't worked with wax, but I've seen people do that. Here's the neck. Oh my God, don't do that. Ah, crunch. Broke my neck. See it? It's a big crack there. Of course, I don't like this pose, and I tried to move it back. Too late. Big old crack now. What are you gonna do now? Get the torch out. Alright, he's moving the leg, and the leg broke already. It's a never-ending battle. You either need to stick with the pose that you have, or if you repose it, you're gonna have to do some repair work. Oh well, that's the nature of this clay, so might as well get used to it and just deal with it. Here I'm trying to work with the muscles, right, pectoralis minor and pectoralis major, pectoralis. Man, that's a mouthful to say. Anyway, these muscles go kind of meet up with the deltoids, the shoulder muscles, and they need to be in a certain angle and overlapping to make it look more natural. Otherwise, it won't look good. Now, if this arm was down, like a T pose or something like that, I wouldn't have that much trouble figuring out where the muscles are. But because the arm is all twisted, is stretched up, and really in an extreme pose, for me it's kind of hard to visualize how these muscles are. I know that the biceps is going to go under the arm and hook up to the scapula. It's hard to visualize it all twisted like that. That écorché first draft that I did before this sculpture. Here is some of the muscles of the latissimus dorsi, or dorsi, I don't know what's the best way to say it. And some of the muscles that go from the scapula underneath the armpit. Gives it that bulky area, and that's where the trapezius were in the back. Triceps muscle, triceps. Alright, so I'm taking some of the clay off where the muscle that, what is it called? This is called sternocleidomastoid. That muscle, according to the name, it has a couple of places that it hooks up to, which one is the sternum, and then clavicle, and the mastoid. Is that the little process in the back of the head, near the ear, behind the ear? Mastoid. Sternocleidomastoid goes from the back of the ear all the way to the clavicle, the pit of the neck. Very interesting muscle. That you tilt your head and turn it, all that stuff. Plus, with the other muscles too, but that one is very prominent. Here I'm taking some of the clay off from the little area where is part of the scapula is called chromion process, where the deltoids hook up to it, but they don't really cover it because of that, the everywhere you have these, landmarks, bony landmarks, the muscles really don't cover it. They're very visible. Here working on the left shoulder, which is a little bit increasing in size, so I have to kind of shave it down, and also the angle of the front pectoral muscles, pectoralis. They don't look right, so I had to shave it down a little bit, get it to the end of the humerus and the clavicle. Add a little bit of clay over here to show the reach of the muscles of the breast or pectoralis, going under the deltoids over there. And that's area over there is where latissimus dorsi muscle bulges over there under the arm. And add some clay for the scapula to indicate where the scapula is and its angle. That arm is kind of pushed back, so I need to create a little hump showing that the scapula is pushed toward the center medial position. That's all for this video, folks. Cheers.